Welcome back to the Heart Coaching. I'm Bryce Wise, and today we're going to learn about the insecure connector and what does that mean. This is our third in the connection styles. Let's find out. The insecure connector is someone who has built insecurity as their connection style, as their connection. And this comes from a negative soundtrack playing in their head. This comes from them hearing things like, I'm not good enough. If they really see who you are. This comes from the style of like kind of being a wall, like these people are seen as wallflowers, these people are seen as shy, but really what it comes down to is they have negatively heard in their mind that they're not good enough. And that could be because they were, had a rough childhood. That could be because they, were always trying to be perfect. A lot of times, these people like need that perfection in them. Like everything has to be right. Everything has to be perfect. If it's not perfect, it's not right. And this really stems from a negative soundtrack in their head that has told them that they're not good enough, that has told them that they don't have value, that has told them that they have nothing to offer, that has told them all of these kind of lies. And those lies have taken such hold of their life that they don't want to put themselves out there. They don't want to put themselves on display. They don't want to be wrong. They don't want to be seen. Like they really do want to be a wallflower. And just because you're insecure doesn't mean that you're an insecure connector. Because we all have insecurities and we all have things that we don't like about ourselves. But really, with the insecure connector is they let those insecurities dictate how much they're going to open up. And they let those insecurities dictate exactly how much they can be seen. And when it comes to connection, it's all about being seen. And these insecure connectors don't actually want to be seen because they don't want to be seen. They want to be seen as perfect. And if they have insecurities or have things that are not like working for them or going for them, they don't want people to know that. And this is actually where my wife fell as a kid. She had a lot of insecurities growing up because she wasn't the prettiest gal. She wasn't the smartest person. She wasn't the best at anything. And so a lot of these insecurities came up, and a lot of these insecurities kept telling them like these lies and kept bringing that kind of forward. And so as she continued to hear more lies about herself and started telling herself more lies about herself, she started developing this like shy, awkward, putting herself like into places that didn't want to be seen. And it always came down to the thought process of like, oh, if they really see who I am. Even before when we started dating, she had this fear of like, oh, if Bryce really sees who I am, he's gonna run. And that kind of if they see really dictates how they play their life. And so when it comes to connection, they put on the perfect show, they put on the perfect stuff, but really deep down they may be struggling, or deep down they may be like super like weirded out about like their insecurities and so they oftentimes can come off as perfect, or they're seen as the perfect child, and they don't want and to let anybody down in that. And so like really as a child they're hearing these things of like, oh, you're perfect, you're great, like my wife it's kind of funny, my wife's family, when I first started dating her, they said she's like Mary Poppins, practically perfect in every way. And that pressure and stuff of being perfect really started holding her back, because when she was not meeting those standards of perfection, the negative soundtrack took place. And when the negative soundtrack took place, she was no longer able to combat it with truth. So I like to think of the insecure connector as Violet from The Incredibles. Violet, especially in the first movie, is not comfortable in her own skin. She really doesn't want people to see the true her. She doesn't want to see people see her superpower. She doesn't want to talk to the boy because she doesn't want to get rejected. She really kind of stays in her shell. And when she stays in her shell, she doesn't let anybody in, including people like her family. And so the insecure connector builds a shell around themselves, and really they try and hide under that shell so that nobody can come in. And so, but as you watch Violet grow and gain her confidence and gain all this stuff in The Incredibles, you actually see her start really being okay with who she is. And that's what happens when the insecure connector starts getting these good connections and these healthy connections. And people that will prove to them that it doesn't matter if you're perfect. It doesn't matter if you have to be right. That's when they'll start really opening up, really start developing better, healthier connections. And so when this happens, like, you have to realize that you're combating that negative soundtrack. So what does the insecure connector actually need to thrive? Well, the first thing is they need a positive soundtrack. And what I mean by that is they've had such a negative soundtrack of, oh, you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough, oh, if they only saw who you were, that they start believing that and letting that be what dictates them. And so if you can give that person, or you can give yourself, if you're an insecure connector, a positive soundtrack saying, no, I do have value. No, I am worthy of this. No, I do enjoy myself. Yes, I'm okay in my own skin. And start letting that become the mantra of their life. It really actually helps them break free of those insecurities. The next thing that an insecure connector needs is they need little wins. Because that having a little wins when it comes to connection is so vital for the insecure connector, because when the insecure connector feels like they won and feels like they're valued and feels like that people really do care what they say, it all of a sudden starts making this like easier to take the next step. And so the insecure connector really needs to know that they are loved, that they are cared for, that they have value, and they need the little wins in connection. My wife tells the story about just before we started dating, she started coming to the church where we met at, and she hated coming early. She would miss worship just because she didn't want people to talk to her. She didn't want people to like ask her questions, because she was so insecure about that. She would sit in the parking lot until worship was over and then sneak in. But as I started giving her that positive soundtrack, as she started seeing value in herself, and as she started really realizing that she had stuff to offer that people were interested in, she loves coming early now. She loves seeing people. She loves hanging out with people. And so I think it's so important that for the insecure connector to really be able to like have a safe place for that. Because if you can show an insecure connector that you care about them, that you love them, and you don't care if they're perfect, it really starts helping them grow and thrive. Because, when you get rid of these insecurities and these things that really are just lies at the heart of it, it really starts making those things a lot better. And that's exactly what the insecure connector is they've listened to those lies and those insecurities so much that they literally can't see themselves as the truth. And then that becomes how they view their connection style. That's how they view their connection. And so, with that being said, thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for taking the time today to really better your connection. Thank you so much for actually trying to build a lasting, healthy connection that will last a lifetime. If you want to learn more about connection, find us on Facebook at The Heart Coaching. Subscribe here on YouTube. If you thought this video was interesting, or you agree with it, or disagree with it, please leave a comment. I read all of the comments here, and I would love to just say that you can change your connection. You can become a better connector. And if you want to learn more tips and more things, and really go into depth about these connection styles, sign up for my webinar. And you know what? Just remember, when we connect, life gets better. See ya!